On my wedding day, I was supposed to be the princess. Instead, my mother grabbed the microphone and told 200 guests how much prettier my sister was than me. When she finished humiliating me in front of everyone I loved, I did something that left the entire room speechless. And I'm wondering, where would this happen in your world? Tell me your city or country in the comments. Subscribe for more. Now let me tell you exactly how my perfect day turned into a nightmare. As I stood surrounded by family and friends in what should have been the happiest moment of my life, my mother suddenly raised her voice for everyone to hear. Your sister has always been prettier than you since childhood, and today is no exception. With so many guests watching, I could only manage an awkward smile, feeling my face burn with embarrassment. Her words hung in the air like a dark cloud over what was supposed to be a celebration of love and joy. When it came time for the parents to give their blessings, Mother grabbed the microphone and started talking enthusiastically to our guests about my younger sister's many accomplishments. She spoke with such pride and excitement that you would have thought we were at Zoe's party instead of mine. The wedding host had to gently remind her that I was the bride, that this was my special day. Only then did Mother reluctantly turn to me, though her words brought no comfort. "Oh, Felicia," she said with a dismissive wave, "she's been dull and boring since she was little. If she hadn't gotten into Harvard, who would have been interested in her?" The silence that followed was deafening. Every guest in the room seemed to hold their breath, unsure how to respond to such unexpected cruelty. Only Mother's satisfied lip-smacking broke the uncomfortable quiet. Earlier that morning, as I stood before the full-length mirror in my bridal suite, Mother had looked me up and down with a critical eye before declaring, "This wedding dress doesn't look good." The stylist beside me, who had been carefully adjusting my train, seemed caught off guard by the blunt comment. She tried to smooth things over. Perhaps it's because the bride's makeup was done earlier for the traditional Chinese ceremony dress. I can adjust it to better suit the wedding gown. "No," Mother said with absolute certainty, shaking her head firmly. "I mean, the wedding dress itself doesn't look good on her." She walked in circles around me, gesturing with her hands like she was a fashion critic at a runway show. "She's too tall. The mermaid style doesn't suit her figure." Then came the inevitable comparison. Unlike Zoe, who has perfect proportions, a mermaid gown would look beautiful on her. The stylist, having no idea who Zoe was, glanced at me with confusion. She clearly couldn't understand why a mother would choose her daughter's wedding day to make such harsh remarks. I gripped my skirt tightly, my knuckles white with tension. The truth was, I couldn't understand it either. Why, on the most important day of my life, did Mother still feel the need to tear me down to build up my sister? I wanted to ask her to stop, to please just let me have this one day without the constant comparisons. But I could hear the sounds of our guests gathering outside, and I knew Mother's temper was like a lit fuse, ready to explode at the slightest provocation. So I swallowed my words and endured the comments, not wanting Andrew's family or our friends who had travelled from far away to witness a family argument on what should have been a joyous occasion. Fortunately, Mother grew bored after a few minutes and left the bridal suite. Both the stylist and I exhaled with relief. "Miss Felicia," the stylist said kindly, "you truly look stunning in the mermaid style. Our photographer was just telling me how photogenic you are, how every shot comes out perfectly without any need for posed adjustments." I smiled gratefully, knowing she was trying to lift my spirits after Mother's harsh words. Despite the earlier unpleasantness, the ceremony soon reached its most sacred moment. Andrew and I stood facing each other on the altar, exchanging rings as our loved ones cheered around us. As the band slid slowly onto my ring finger, I felt a moment of pure happiness, as if all the difficulties had been worth it to reach this perfect instant. That was when Mother suddenly appeared beside me and announced loudly enough for everyone to hear, "You look quite unattractive when you cry." Then, as if that were not enough, she added, "Not like your sister, who has been beautiful since childhood, and today is no exception." Tears spilled from my eyes as I stood frozen in disbelief, staring at the woman who had given birth to me. How could she choose this moment, of all moments, to wound me so deeply? Andrew, though clearly confused by the sudden outburst, reacted quickly. He took my hand and called out joyfully, "My wife, I love you." The band immediately began playing Can't Help Myself, filling the space with music and romance, trying to restore the celebratory atmosphere. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mother glare at me before sticking out her tongue in a gesture that seemed almost childish in its petulance. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to push aside the hurt and confusion, and managed to smile broadly for our guests. I repeated to myself like a mantra that nothing could be allowed to spoil this wedding. Whatever issues needed to be addressed could wait until after the celebration, but Mother was not finished disrupting my special day. When it came time for the parents to speak, Andrew's mother and father offered heartfelt, gracious words that earned enthusiastic applause from our guests. My father began to speak as well, but after only a few sentences, Mother snatched the microphone from his hands. She beamed at the crowd and said warmly, "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my daughter's wedding today." For a brief moment, I felt hopeful that she would keep her remarks appropriate and loving. However, after some brief pleasantries, Mother suddenly steered the conversation in an unexpected direction. "Zoe is my younger daughter, Felicia's sister. This year she opened her own art studio not far from this hotel. She creates paintings in many different styles, and you are all welcome to visit any time." Andrew and I exchanged worried glances, both sensing that this was heading in the wrong direction. I hurried forward, hoping to reclaim the microphone, but Mother pushed me away with surprising force, causing me to stumble and nearly fall. "What are you doing, grabbing for the microphone?" she snapped. "Have you forgotten your manners? I am not finished speaking." Father gestured for me to step back and allow Mother to continue, while Andrew's parents looked increasingly uncomfortable with the situation. To maintain some semblance of order at our wedding, I reluctantly retreated and listened as Mother continued. "Zoe has been lively and considerate since she was small, always thinking of her parents' needs. She chose to open her studio near our home specifically so she could take care of her father and me. That girl has such a devoted heart." Mother went on and on, sharing various anecdotes about Zoe's childhood accomplishments and virtues. Although none of the guests responded or encouraged her monologue, she continued talking and laughing at her own stories, completely absorbed in her one-woman show. Finally, the wedding host approached with a furrowed brow and gently reminded her, "Madam, this is Miss Felicia's wedding. Perhaps you should say something about Miss Felicia." Only then did Mother reluctantly shift her attention to me, though her words brought no comfort. "Oh, her. She has been boring and withdrawn since childhood. If she had not gotten into Harvard University, who would have been interested in her?" The moment those words left her lips, the entire room fell silent. Every eye turned to me, and I felt as though the hurt and anger in my chest might explode. Andrew squeezed my hand and tapped gently on my palm, whispering, "Let me handle this. Do not worry." Fighting back tears, I nodded. Andrew asked the host to retrieve the microphone and then leaned down to speak quietly in Mother's ear. She pursed her lips, seeming to realize finally that her behavior was inappropriate, and said nothing more. The rest of the wedding proceeded smoothly under the host's guidance. After the toasts were completed, I felt emotionally and physically exhausted. I had barely eaten anything and asked if I could rest in the bridal suite for a few minutes. Andrew offered to accompany me, but many of his college friends had traveled long distances to be there, and I did not want to take him away from them. I declined his offer and headed to the bridal suite alone. As I approached the door, I heard familiar voices coming from inside. "Mom, this is my sister's jewelry. I should not be taking it, should I?" "What is wrong with that? What belongs to your sister belongs to you. Look how well this bracelet suits you, and this necklace is perfect for you. You have such an elegant neck, you should wear this style. Your sister's neck is thick and short, not nearly as attractive as yours." My entire body began to tremble. I pushed open the door to find Mother smiling as she helped Zoe try on my wedding jewelry. "Sister." Zoe was clearly startled by my sudden appearance. She stepped back, her smile fading into embarrassment. "I thought your necklace was beautiful and just wanted to look at it. Please do not misunderstand." "Misunderstand what?" Mother interrupted, preventing Zoe from removing the necklace. Her voice was filled with irritation. "Getting married requires only the basic gold pieces. There was no need to buy an entire jewelry set. It is simply wasteful." She continued matter-of-factly. "These extra pieces suit your sister perfectly. I think we should give them to Zoe. She looks lovely wearing them." Without any regard for my shocked expression, Mother grabbed the jewelry box and began stuffing it into Zoe's purse. My anger reached its breaking point, and I spoke rapidly. "Mother, do you truly believe that every beautiful thing in this world belongs only to Zoe? You do not care at all who these things originally belong to, whether it is my wedding dress, my jewelry, or even a lipstick I use daily. You want to take everything from me and give it all to Zoe." Perhaps because they rarely saw me lose my temper, both Mother and Zoe stood stunned for a moment. But Mother quickly recovered and fixed me with a furious glare. "Zoe is your sister. Should she not be able to use your things?" Mother stepped toward me, her voice rising to a hysterical pitch. "Must you be so selfish as her older sister?" Selfish? My fingernails dug into my palms. If I had been angry before, now I felt more hurt than anything else. For as long as I could remember, the word selfish had echoed in my ears like a constant refrain. When Zoe and I played together as children, and she cried because she could not win toys from other children, if I could not console her, Mother would call me selfish for not protecting my sister. When I helped Zoe with her homework and she became restless and wanted to go play, if I could not manage her, Mother would call me selfish for not watching her properly. Later, when I consistently ranked in the top 3 of my high school class, and Zoe became moody because my grades were better than hers, Mother would still call me selfish for not considering Zoe's feelings and only adding pressure to her life, even though the problem was clearly Zoe's own jealousy. Later still, when Andrew and I were together and our family of 5 would have dinner, if I prepared a meal without including garlic broccoli, which was Zoe's favorite dish, and she refused to eat in protest, Mother would still blame me for being selfish and not considering Zoe's dietary preferences. I had endured these baseless accusations year after year. I had tried to resist, but every time I defended myself, Mother would dismiss it as making excuses. No matter who was actually at fault, she would always take Zoe's side and view every situation from Zoe's perspective, as if only Zoe were her biological daughter and I were merely an adopted child. Mother's voice was particularly shrill today as she pointed at me, her face contorting with the speed of her angry words. "You have been selfish since childhood, with a dark heart. You never want to share anything good, always keeping things hidden for yourself. As they say, you can tell what someone will become by age 3. I should have known you would always be this way. Enough." I could no longer contain the hurt and anger in my heart. Large tears rolled down my cheeks, and my voice trembled as if it might shatter in the air. The selfish person is not me, it is you. I lifted my face, not wanting the tears to fall too freely, and certainly not wanting to show more vulnerability in front of a mother who clearly did not love me. Because you are selfish and can only think of yourself, I was sent to live with grandmother immediately after birth and went entire years without seeing you in your distant state. Because you are selfish, you married a stranger without considering my feelings and immediately had another child. Throughout my childhood, because of your selfishness, I lived like a guest in other people's homes, never even certain of my next meal. Where would I have gotten so many things to share with others? I looked at this woman, who was familiar yet strange to me, feeling too drained even to shout. By the end, my voice was filled with broken tremors. If I were truly selfish, how could I have called a strange man father? How could I have given $500 from my $800 monthly allowance to buy art supplies for my sister? Mother, if I were truly selfish, how could I have been willing to sacrifice my own comfort just to make you happy? That was all just pretense, Mother shot back coldly. You were pretending to be a good child to make your father feel sorry for you. Those icy words sent me plummeting into despair. All my years of patience and sacrifice meant nothing in Mother's eyes. Mother took Zoe's hand and glanced at me dismissively. It is just a necklace and a bracelet. Is it worth all this melodrama? Zoe quickly waved her hands. Sister, I do not want them anymore. Please put them away quickly and do not fight with Mother over this. Mother's health is not good to begin with. Please do not upset her further. Mother patted Zoe's hand affectionately. You are still the thoughtful one, always concerned about Mother's health. I stood there powerlessly, supporting myself against the table. It had always been this way. All my emotions were invisible to Mother, like air that she could neither see nor touch. I closed my eyes, feeling utterly exhausted. You are not welcome here, please leave. Mother snorted disdainfully. Cannot keep up the act anymore. Throwing your own mother out on your wedding day. What will your husband and in-laws think when they hear about this? What will people say? There is nothing for them to say. Andrew entered the room and put his arm around me, his voice carrying unmistakable resolve. Felicia is my wife now. My family is her family, and equally, I do not welcome anyone who causes her pain and sadness. He addressed them directly. Mother, Zoe, today has become quite unpleasant. It is better if we all have some space. We can address any issues after the wedding is over. Andrew spoke plainly. I have already called a car for you. Mother, you and Father should go home now. Mother opened her mouth to protest, but the words turned into indignant huffs. Fine, fine, we will leave, she said petulantly, grabbing her purse. What daughter's wedding does not include the bride's parents? I would like to see how you explain their absence when people ask during the toasts. Wait, I called after her. She turned around, slapping her own face dramatically. Finally realized your mistake. A wedding without the bride's family, how embarrassing for you. I stepped forward and took her purse, retrieving my necklace and bracelet from inside. After securing my jewelry, I looked away. Now you can go. Mother pressed her lips together, gave me one last resentful look, then took Zoe's hand and strode out. As they left, Zoe gestured frantically at me. Sister, please come home tomorrow and apologize to Mother. I will help convince her to forgive you. Do not forget. The moment the door closed behind them, tears began pouring uncontrollably down my face. Andrew wanted to comfort me but seemed uncertain what to say, so he simply handed me tissues in silence. What did Andrew's parents say? I asked through my tears. Will they blame me? I was worried that after Mother's outburst, Andrew's parents, though too polite to say anything directly, must have felt uncomfortable about the whole situation. How could they blame you? Andrew sat beside me, speaking gently. It was just a small incident. My parents have seen every kind of situation. They would never hold such a minor thing against you. Father and Mother only asked me to take good care of you and not to let you worry about it. Really? I looked up at him through my tears. Of course. Andrew gazed at me lovingly, his eyes sparkling. My wife, you are truly beautiful. Even when you cry, you look gorgeous. I managed a smile through my tears. Once you feel better, shall we go back to the reception? Andrew gently brushed the hair from my forehead. Let us not dwell on unpleasant things. If we keep thinking about them, we will feel unhappy all the time. I nodded, quickly composed myself, and returned with Andrew to complete the toasts. When I appeared before our guests with a wine glass, everyone tactfully avoided mentioning what had happened earlier. Only when we reached the table with Father's relatives did someone make some snide remarks, but Andrew quickly deflected them all. After the exhausting day ended, I finally lay in my own home and slowly opened my phone to discover that our family group chat had exploded with messages. Mother had already posted dozens of messages denouncing my behavior. I have never seen a daughter throw her own mother out of her wedding. Such an ungrateful person. I worked so hard to give birth to her and raise her, and now I realize I might as well have raised a dog. At least a dog would wag its tail and make me happy when I fed it. I did not even want to go. Her wedding conflicted with my vacation plans to California. I cancelled the tickets Zoe bought for me just to attend her wedding. And what did she do? Besides paying me back for the tickets, she did nothing. She knew perfectly well that Zoe had just gone through a breakup and was feeling down, yet she deliberately scheduled her wedding on Valentine's Day. Was she not intentionally trying to embarrass us? Everyone, please judge for yourselves. What more should I do as a mother to satisfy her? After Mother posted these messages, the family group chat, which had been chatting casually, fell silent. Only Mother seemed oblivious, continuing to flood the chat with message after message. After 10 messages with no response, the chat remained quiet. Seeing that no one was supporting her, Mother became agitated. Are you all busy? Do not feel embarrassed to speak up. When Felicia does something wrong, you elders should help me criticize her. 10 minutes later, my eldest aunt was the first to respond. Susan, please stop looking for trouble. Cannot you just live peacefully? My second aunt quickly followed with her opinion. Yes, Susan, today was Felicia's wedding, a once-in-a-lifetime event. As a mother, instead of being understanding, you went out of your way to cause problems for your child. What you said on that stage this morning, really, Felicia is lucky to be so well-mannered. If it were me, I would have slapped you right there. My uncle also sent a voice message. Susan, today's incident was not Felicia's fault. Everyone could see that clearly. You are just too used to being willful and do not know how to behave appropriately. Even my cousin, who usually only lurked and never spoke in the group, defended me. Aunt Susan, what you did today was truly inappropriate. This was clearly Felicia's wedding, but you insisted on praising Zoe instead. That shows a complete lack of priorities. If I were Felicia, I probably would never want to speak to you again for the rest of my life. Mother was clearly triggered by everyone supporting me. What did I do wrong? You are all ganging up against me. I just said a few extra words. Was I not telling the truth? Zoe is better than Felicia in every way. My cousin immediately responded, If you think Zoe is so much better than Felicia, then when you were in the hospital for surgery last year, why did you not ask Zoe to stay with you and pay for everything? Why did you ask Felicia instead? Mother's response was a series of 60-second voice messages filled with profanity. My cousin apparently listened to a few of them and quoted the worst parts back to Mother. "Aunt Susan, I am not Felicia. I will not sacrifice my dignity and self-respect again and again to accommodate your emotions like she does. I really cannot stay in this group anymore. I am leaving." The next second, my cousin left the group chat. My eldest aunt also posted a helpless emoji. "Susan, if you keep acting this way, even the closest family members will get tired of it." Mother did not speak in the group for a long time after that. I thought about it and decided to message my cousin privately to thank her sincerely for defending me. My cousin called me immediately, frustrated. "Felicia, your aunt just berated you like that in the group, and you still stay silent and take it. Are you completely brainwashed? This was your wedding. She deliberately disrupted your wedding, and you are not going to forgive her again because of some blood relation, are you?" I bit my lip, my heart aching. "She changed your college application without permission, and you forgave her. She forced you to go on dates with divorced men in their 30s, and you forgave her. She made you use your student loans to buy art supplies for Zoe, and you still chose to forgive her. Have you forgotten all of this? Fine. Maybe you are used to it by now, but you are married now. You will have children someday. Can you bear the thought of your children experiencing the same treatment you endured?" When I remained silent, my cousin said coldly, "Never mind. You have been conditioned by psychological manipulation for so long that I am wasting my time trying to help you." "That is not true," I whispered just before she hung up. I did not know how to explain to my cousin, who had grown up in a loving, harmonious family environment, how desperately I had always craved a mother's love. From my earliest memories, I knew that the maternal love others took for granted was like a fairy tale to me. I was the child of Mother and her high school boyfriend, but just before I was born, that man ran away overseas with Mother's best friend. Mother, devastated after giving birth, was heartbroken and furious, and my cries only made her feel more hurt and angry. I was the bloodline left behind by the man she hated most, and my existence constantly reminded her of the betrayal she could not forget. Perhaps because she truly could not face me. When I was barely a month old, the distraught mother left me with grandmother and went to work in another state. For 8 whole years, she never came back to see me once. When grandmother was alive, she always emphasized that Mother was also a victim, and no matter how cold Mother was to me, I must not blame or hate her. So during my childhood, when other children mocked me for being abandoned by my mother, even when I got into fights defending her and ended up covered in bruises, I still would not let them say a single bad word about my mother. I always kept my longing and love for Mother buried deep in my heart. In the quiet of night, I would pray to the moon and stars over and over again. "Mother, when you are not busy, when you can briefly forget the pain my biological father caused you, please come back and see me." Eventually, my prayers seemed to be answered. On my 8th birthday, Mother returned, but she was followed by a 6-year-old girl and a strange man. To fit into this new family, Grandmother suggested I change my surname and start calling the strange uncle Father. I did everything asked of me, because only this way would Mother look at me with slightly less resentment. I was an extra piece trying to fit into this family of 3, so even though I clearly understood that Mother always unconditionally favored my sister, I would convince myself that Mother was finally by my side, that I had achieved my childhood wish, and I should not ask for too much more. But as year after year passed in this living arrangement, I gradually came to understand that Mother's hatred for me would only increase, never diminish. Because of this realization, after college graduation, I gradually reduced my contact with Mother. Except for necessary holiday greetings, I no longer initiated contact with her. Until my wedding approached. After much consideration, I still felt I should invite Mother. I thought that no matter how much Mother usually disliked me, surely on my wedding day she would show me at least a little kindness. Surely she would, right? But reality cruelly pulled me out of that fantasy once again. After stripping away the sweet coating of hope, the bitter core remained unchanged. My temples were throbbing. I could no longer convince myself to accept this treatment. My cousin's words echoed repeatedly in my mind. Given Mother's personality, if I had children, she would likely hate them as well, simply because they were mine. I could not continue like this anymore. Cousin, I said after a long silence, there is something I need your help with. What is it? The house my mother lives in now was purchased by me. Could you help me find a suitable buyer? I want to sell it. My cousin worked in real estate sales, so I trusted her to handle the sale. After hanging up, I received a text message from Father. Felicia, Zoe told me what happened today when she got home. You cannot speak to family members that way, especially to your mother. Others might not understand or might criticize your mother, but you cannot do that. I closed my eyes, feeling very tired. Another message arrived. By the way, Felicia, I heard today that Andrew's family gave you $588,000 as a wedding gift. Wedding gifts are meant to supplement the bride's family. Zoe's art studio needs some working capital right now, but she is too embarrassed to ask you directly, so I am shamelessly asking if you could lend us some money. I typed back, how much? He replied immediately, let us round it to 500,000. You can keep some since you just got married and need money for living expenses. I cannot be too hard on you. I was so angry I had to laugh. Fine. Father quickly sent a clapping emoji. I responded directly. But first, I think we need to settle some accounts. He typed for a long time but sent nothing. Do you know how much money I have spent on this family over the years? If you know, then you should not have asked me for money today. If you do not know, then I think we need to calculate it carefully. Ha ha. We are all family. Why keep track of such things? Felicia, you have never been this calculating before. What has gotten into you today? Did Andrew say something to you? I turned off my phone without responding. Seeing me lost in thought, Andrew came over and gently touched my nose. Not sleeping yet. I shook my head and told Andrew about my plan to sell the house. I bought the house and my name is on the deed. They have just lived there so long that they seem to have forgotten who actually owns it. After explaining everything, I looked at Andrew, waiting for his reaction. My wife, you have changed, he said, tilting his head and studying me intently. When I met you 5 years ago, you would rather work an extra job than stop sending money home. Back then, you really did not know how to love yourself. But you have grown so much in recent years, going from being unable to separate yourself from your toxic family to now planning to cut contact with them completely. You are truly amazing. I smiled. What seemed like an easy transformation to outsiders had actually taken me more than 10 years to achieve. My cousin was very efficient. The house was listed for 1 week before someone made an offer. Felicia, I need to bring people to see the house. As you requested, I chose buyers who are tough businessmen with strong methods. As long as your name is on the deed, they will confidently handle the situation. I nodded. Dealing with people like my parents required action, not words. 100 explanations were not as effective as one decisive move. Please also tell the buyers that if they can successfully evict my parents, I will reduce the total price by another $50,000. No problem, my cousin laughed. I am finally seeing you fight back. It is not easy. I laughed too. After the house sells, I will send you a generous red envelope as thanks. After hanging up, I saw that Zoe had sent me many messages. Some asked when I was coming home, others asked when I planned to apologize to Mother. I ignored those and sent her a direct message about selling the house. Zoe quickly replied, "Sister, but this house is where Father, Mother, and I currently live. You cannot do this. You cannot abandon us just because you have your own family. That would be too heartless. Even if you are angry with Mother, Father has treated you better than he treats me, his own biological daughter. Are you going to throw Father out too?" Treated me better than his own biological daughter, that was laughable. Upon closer examination, a large part of the reason my relationship with Mother had deteriorated over the years could be attributed to this father of mine. Every time Mother and I argued, he would casually remind Mother that I was the bloodline of the man who had abandoned her. It was absurd, but it was also real. He was willing to accept me as a non-biological daughter, but he did not want me to be happy, and he certainly did not want to see me living better than Zoe. After delegating all the house sale matters to my cousin and a lawyer, Andrew and I both threw ourselves into our work. I was so busy that I did not even notice when Mother started cursing me out in the family group chat. I skimmed through her messages briefly. They were the same tired insults she had been hurling at me for years. Nothing new. My eldest aunt called specifically to tell me to ignore Mother. "Felicia, we all know what you have done for your family over the years better than anyone. You can be assured that we will stand by you." I nodded. Over the years, while I had grown accustomed to Mother's indifference, it was my aunt and others like her who had given me the little love I had experienced. The day I received Mother's lawsuit papers, I was still at work. A Federal Express courier called to say there were important documents that required my personal signature. Although I had prepared myself mentally, when it actually came to facing my family in court, I still felt heartbroken. I had prepared thoroughly for this lawsuit. With all the evidence in my favor, the court ruled in my favor. Standing outside the courthouse, Matthew supported Mother while he and Zoe cursed me viciously. He accused me of being heartless, saying that he, a stepfather with no blood relation, had done so much for me, yet I was trying to sell his only place of refuge. Andrew stood protectively in front of me, holding my hand tightly, trying to reason with them. I stopped him and looked calmly at the family of 3 across from us. "Matthew, I will address you this way for the last time. Over the years, while you have been congratulating yourself on your selflessness, you have also quietly resented me. I am not stupid, and I have not been blind to this. I was just so desperate for family and for a home when I was young that I forced myself to ignore your dissatisfaction and hatred, even though I had never done anything wrong." I sighed softly. Actually, before I heard you urging Mother to pressure me into transferring this house to Zoe, I still felt some gratitude toward you in my heart. Unfortunately, your greed made that little bit of gratitude disappear completely. "Felicia!" Mother screamed at me hysterically. "Do not forget that you still carry the Anderson surname. Do not forget that your real father abandoned you long ago, and it was he who raised you without regard for the past." Zoe stamped her feet anxiously beside her. "Exactly, sister. Father raised you too. You cannot be so ungrateful." I laughed out loud. What did he raise? Before middle school, I was supported by grandmother. During high school, I relied on scholarships and help from my aunt and others to continue my education. In college, I worked day and night to support myself. What did he do? Just invite me home for holiday dinners and then casually mention my biological father whenever you were in a good mood. I saw through those disgusting games long ago, which is why I never set foot in your house again during college. I looked at them coldly. As for my surname, I will change it after today. I will take grandmother's surname. From now on, I will have no relationship with any of you. After that day, I blocked and deleted all contact information for mother's family of 3. To prevent mother from continuing to harass me, my uncle voluntarily dissolved the family group chat. Felicia, from now on, just focus on living your own life well. Your own happiness matters more than anything else. Tears welled up in my eyes as I transferred $80,000 each to my uncle and aunts. But none of them accepted the money. Instead, they returned it all, telling me to save it for emergencies. I realized once again that people who truly care about and love you never calculate how much money you have spent on them. What they care about is simply whether you are doing well. For a long time after cutting contact, I received anonymous hate messages almost daily. Without even thinking about it, I knew these must be from that family. Not only that, but under Matthew's direction, Zoe also posted content on a social media platform falsely accusing me of not supporting my parents and deliberately distorting the facts, leading many uninformed internet users to attack me verbally. I clicked on the video link my cousin sent me and saw that Zoe's defamatory video had received over 10,000 likes and thousands of shares. I did not message her privately asking her to delete it. Instead, I chose to file a lawsuit. After delegating everything to a lawyer, I specifically emphasized that I refused any settlement negotiations. Zoe's defamatory video had far exceeded the threshold for legal action, and the court determined through summary proceedings that she had committed serious defamation. She was sentenced to 10 days in detention and fined $500. Before the verdict was announced, Mother had come to my apartment complex looking for me. This time she did not curse at me, but instead calmly begged me to forgive Zoe. She said Zoe was still young and naive and had only hurt me accidentally in a moment of anger. I did not want to listen to this, so I had the security guards escort her away. She could not enter my gated community, and she could no longer return to her former home. The 2 buyers moved in the day the judgment took effect. When the family of 3 cried and refused to leave, one of the buyers said nothing and simply grabbed Matthew by the back of his shirt collar and threw him into the hallway. He did not spare their belongings either, throwing everything out in a chaotic heap. With nowhere else to go, they could only drive back to their hometown in defeat. Matthew had already sold his house in their hometown long ago. With no other options, they had to swallow their pride and return to my grandmother's old house. But grandmother's house had been given to my uncle, and his family already filled it quite full. There simply was not room for mother. The 2 of them had no choice but to drive to a motel. But just 2 blocks away from the motel, their car's brakes failed. I was abroad negotiating a business deal when I received the call from my aunt. She told me that Matthew was still in intensive care, while mother had suffered multiple fractures throughout her body. Even if she recovered well, she would likely be permanently disabled. I responded with a simple acknowledgement. My aunt hesitated. "Felicia, will you come back to see her?" I said nothing. My aunt sighed softly. "Maybe it is better if you do not." 10 days later, when I returned to the country, Andrew picked me up at the airport. When he saw me, he said nothing, just came forward and gave me a deep embrace. On the way home, Andrew quietly observed my emotional state. Only when we stepped through our front door did he ask gently, "My wife, you mentioned before that you really wanted to visit Hawaii. You just finished your busy period, so how about we go there together to relax?" I stood on the balcony, aware that Zoe was waiting outside our apartment complex. She had sent me many text messages, every word blaming me. In her mind, I was responsible for what happened to our parents. If I had not sold that house, if I had not forcibly evicted them, none of this would have happened. I looked out at the view outside our window and slowly typed the truth to send to her. I had previously bought Matthew a car, but he sold it immediately. Most of the money from that sale went to fund your art studio, and he used the remaining $80,000 to buy this used car. He wanted to save money, so he spent $80,000 on a BMW that had been in an accident, and he was too cheap to maintain it properly. Now that he has been in an accident, the culprit is not me, but himself. If you insist on assigning blame, then you can only blame yourself. What goes around comes around. It was all karma. After I sent this message, Zoe stopped bothering me. I did not know whether she felt guilty, ashamed, or some other emotion, but it no longer concerned me. Matthew's expensive medical bills would keep her plenty busy. As for my mother, she would never acknowledge the harm she had caused me, so likewise, I would never see her again. I put away my phone and looked at my beloved husband. I would love to go to Hawaii. Shall we leave next week? That's our story for today. We hope you enjoyed this incredible tale. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe for more captivating stories like this, and don't forget to like and share this video. Thank you for being here with us. See you next time.